Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all
Let the game begin.
At Universal Studios' Halloween Horror Nights, Saw is waiting. Coke Zero makes it possible to save $20. You'll wish it were just a movie.
game over.
Good evening, moviegoers, and welcome to the Kimo Butira, your Undead Dogboy Usher of your service. So, yeah. Wow. Well, this is the gift that keeps on giving, and for the nation's premiere Halloween event, this means announcements, and oh my god, they announced a lot of houses these last weeks. In fact, they did announcements for all original houses this year that will be hosted at the Orlando event. And while being a West Coaster, I really just wanna highlight and appreciate the effort the Orlando team always puts in their chilling original creations. So let's get right into things, shall we?
Sinema presents a bloody B-movie marathon, all in one place, featuring Cult of the Beast Baby. It's a little monster. Amazon cannibals from Planet Hell. Watch out, boys. They'll chew you up. Pumpkin Guts. It's pumpkin spiced horror. And more we can't legally show you here. When the credits roll, heads roll. Cinema Horror Marathon, coming soon.
At Spooky Empire, a panel for Orlando's event was held, and with that the first house announcement for the 33 event. Of course, I refer to the long-awaited sequel for one of the most fan-favorite houses, Slaughter Cinema 2. The original house has guests enter an accursed local drive-in to see movies, rip the silver screen, and experience a bloody marathon of 80s B movies. And of course, this year will be no exception. If you're dying for a B movie horror marathon, head to the Cary Drive-In. Scream through scenes from creature features, grindhouse gore, spaghetti westerns, and much more. Which makes me excited for that last one because I love the previous ghost town houses they have done, and I'm such a fan of that southern gothic vibe like Disneyland Paris's Phantom Manor. And we really need more western horror, so very excited to see that feature. Also, creatures, you know. In fact, one of the movies that will be shown in the house was mentioned in Spooky Empire, this being Heavy Metal Hell 3D, with a glorious appearance by one of the scare actors of such movie that will be in the house. I'm also curious if there will be callbacks of movies from the first house through sequels, cause I love a Devil Dog sequels. With so much potential, this really could be the Shrek 2 of houses, and I mean it. Personally, I'm a sucker for movie cinema themed houses. As you can tell, I was such a big fan of last year's cinema slasher from Not Scary Farms, which maybe in part helped bring this sequel to life, you know. Please, neighbors, let us borrow this house. I'll explain it later. So I'm excited to see the drive-in open again for a new marathon of horror, because as they say, when the credits roll, heads roll.
Just over the bridge from Seuss Landing, we are swept into a mysterious world. A mythical land, long buried beneath the sea in the ruins of ancient history. A realm of power, pageantry, and glory.
Goblin's Feast. After the grandiose success of Dueling Dragons Choose Thy Fate, a great tribute to Islands of Adventure long lost but not forgotten ride, we are getting another high fantasy house. I really love this. The type of responsive approach where they try something new they never done, even if people are skeptical first, and it's a success, so they will bring back the concept in a new way. Take it as you will, but an example of this is the Weekend After Hours Nightmare, a music theme house which spiritual following is the hauntingly beautiful tale of the darkest deal. We might see this approach later with the success of The Last of Us, and we might get video games IPs at the event. Hopefully. Welcome to the Goblin Feast Tavern and visit the Goblin Village where a lavish feast is being prepared for goblins, orcs, hobgoblins and witches. And you're the main course. I'm so excited for this house. The idea of making another high fantasy house with more mythical creatures is so great. I'm so hyped to see the scenery, the costume design, and atmosphere of this house. And I wouldn't be disappointed if they don't connect it to the Dueling Dragons house. That's okay, though I really think we might see some Easter eggs. But the important thing is that I love to see the world of the Lost Continent adapted into houses. Yes, much has been said about Poseidon's Fury as a house. Even more because sadly Poseidon's temple closed last year. And I really wish they did a Sinbad house based on the now also closed show, The 8 Voyages of Sinbad, with the adventurous feel of Doom of the Ancients, but the theme of 101 Arabian Nights. It can't work. Just as the people of Tokyo Disney see. Like I said before, they haven't done a lot of fantasy houses at the event. They used to do it a lot when the event was hosted in Islands of Adventure, in no smart part to the immersive themings of port entry and the Lost Continent. So, into itself, I think they might test the waters if they want to bring the world of Terra Cruentus from Horror Nights 15 back, since the world building of Darkyear was very fantasy, medieval, gore-ish like. As a matter of fact, this house gives me a lot of vibes from a house of Darkyear, Demon Cantina, and they did have representation of Terra Cruentus at the 30th event in a form of a scare zone, so it might not be another 15 years to see the Terra Queen to take her throne of blood and sacrifice. If this does wonders, of course. So, remember when I mentioned the team's responsive approach to houses? Well, put on your tin foils, cause this might be another example. But for all the wrongful reasons.
Alright, here we go! I give you Chocolate Factory!
Major Sweets Candy Factory. While yes, I'm aware that for the original features, the brand are years in advance. I'm just messing with y'all. This house was in fact first a scare zone in Horror Nights 31, as Major Sweets and Mrs. Streets invaded the streets of New York. The costumes, music, the atmosphere, and the oh so cool tribute store, which complemented beautiful that year's theme. So I'm happy this is getting a sequel. You've been invited to chaperone a field trip to a candy factory, but this sweet tour is about to turn sour when fruit samples transform the kids into candy-coated killers wielding sharpened candies. I'm such a fan of creating houses based on scare zones and IPs. To see the potential and that much fan love a song gets to expand on the world building and the ideas of what those songs present, like Killer Clowns, Trick or Treat, and my favorite one, Songs and Steams. Oh my god, going into that machine and turning one, oh my god, I love that duology. I'm such a steampunk fan, the geek. And listening again to the Haunted Tales audio about Sweet Revenge really blew my mind on how it was connected to the tribute store and the Halloween overlay. I highly recommend it to give it a listen so you can catch up with the eventual tale of Major Sweets. Really helps you to set the mood you're in about this year's house. And for those who have taken the history lesson like me, this concept is very similar to 2009's cult house Leave It to Cleaver, about an evil yet charismatic tycoon, owner of a factory that hides gruesome secrets within those walls. Like I said, that house is a classic one with reference and cameos about meats, and it even got his own football in 31. I bring this up because I will die if this will probably lead to a meats versus sweets house. Like my idea for a house is to do a take on a food festival, but it's meats versus sweets. And in that house, Slayer Sinema, they had a movie called Barber Shop, with one of the meats relative as a psychotic barber. So I love to see, that movie again this year, just so they can lean into the meat's plotline and maybe do something with that in the future. So yeah, the idea of a candy factory with horror elements had so much potential for the theming. The colorful neon of killer clowns combined with the gory. The areas of the factory overrun with killers who want to tear you apart. The smell of sugar with the smell of blood. Workers and kids induced by major sweet candies, in the idea of maybe having, candy mutants, cotton candy monstrosities, and hard candy maniacs. Wow, a lot of potential what this house can bring us. And hey, the idea of this house being better themed than an AI scam is so funny.
No, me. What the? Holy Henson!
The museum, deadly exhibit. Well, here's a house I was very excited to see it come to life ever since the speculation season began. Brought to you by the wonderful people of Horror Night Nightmares. As well, this year we might not get 5 nights at Freddy's, but we are getting 9 at the museum. You're going to check out the Rotting Stone, the local folklore museum infamous new exhibit. An evil spirit escapes from within, possessing the oldest displays and decaying everything on its path. I really love the idea of a house themed to a museum because when we hosted Legends Collide in 2022, the climax of the house about the epic battle between the Dark Lord, the God's Undead Servant, and the cursed victim happened in an Egyptian museum, searching the thing that could break their immortal curse. So ever since then, I love the idea of a museum house, original or IP. They had done a museum setting in case Falls on Earth in one of Boris Schuster's stories, starring my fellow homies, the Servings. Now, I don't think it's gonna be connected to that house, which, is fine for me. And like I said, neither of the museum, supernatural object that brings things to life, or in this case, a supernatural object that brings things to life to take the life of others. And since this is more so described as a folklore museum, I'm curious to see if there will be characters as wax figures, sort of like the Horror Nights 14 house, Horror in Wax, about a twisted take on the universal monsters as wax figures made from corpses. Long story short, I'm not really expecting wax figures of celebrities scaring you in each corner of the house, More so warriors from different cultures and historical figures trying to destroy you. And just like Hong Kong Disneyland's ride Mr. Manor, I love to see the practical effects in this house. Antiquities moving on their own, paintings moving as you're watching a window to another world, and statues posed and historical treasures possessed by the evil spirit from the rotting stone, teasing you for being foolish to step in a museum where you will be ancient history as well. Now, I'm gonna change the announcement order a little bit. You'll see why in a minute. Triplets of Terror. This is the one with the least things to say. You're invited to the Barmy's Triplets birthday bash. But beware, they celebrate by recreating their family's murders. Prepare for a gory gathering. So, yeah, one of the most confusing announcements. And it's weird how this was the last original house announcement. Though looking like a last minute replacement house, it was been rumored that this was planned since day one. So yeah. Anyway, I'm sort of optimistic about this house, as it really seems like a blend of a Rob Zombie movie like House of a Thousand Corpses for the art of the announcement, the 2008 scares on the schoolhouse for the cruelly made disguises the triplets have, along with the idea of twisted children and Shittiest Kids, a segment from the first Slaughter Sinema, a movie about misbehaving children who run amok at a showbiz pizzeria-like place. So yeah, not much to discuss here, but I really like their take on a slasher trio with a mix of twisted childhood innocence. Maybe I'll need to get a haunted tale to be interested for this house, or maybe this is the rumored Boris Schuster tribute of Terror House in disguise. That would be so funny. Now remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor, because we will discuss the final original feature in this marquee of horror night houses.
Querida muerte,
Querida muerte, mi abuela me ha dado el mismo regalo de cumpleaños 2 años seguidos. ¿Debo decir algo o solo lo devuelvo? Curiosamente, Betty.
querida Betty, morirás en el mar. Querida muerte,
Monstruos, the monsters of Latin America. This was also the most hyped house to see it come to life ever since speculation season began. To be honest, ever since we did our version of Scarecrow the Reaping, an Orlando house in our 2022 event, I really wanted to give y'all something in exchange. And oh boy, we're in for a treat. Hopefully we do more changes in the future. Winks of the camera. Ten cuidado. With la muerte as your guide, you'll be asking for piedad from these three terrifying monsters: the blood-sucking Tlahuelpuchi, old-faced witch La Lechuza, and bone-ripping El Silbón. I'm very intrigued to see the same monsters and characters of Hollywood's house. I was expecting some new monsters or a history inspired by Monstruos, but hey, if it works, don't break it. It will be so cool to see Orlando's take on the house, and if it's as breathtaking terrorific as Fiesta de Chupacabras, this will probably be House of the Year. Also very fascinating to see what new monsters will Hollywood usher in. Hopefully some ones that were already part of past years, A burning question I have now is related to the scare zones, which haven't been announced yet. Is this house going to have the Hollywood scare zone which was attached to our Monstruos? El Terror de las Momias? This scare zone drew inspiration from the mummies of 50s Mexican horror cinema, which made me fall in love with the scare zone, cause the idea of doing 50s Mexican horror as a house sounds very badass, like having a luchador fighting the Bride of Dracula, or the Bride of Frankenstein in her mad scientist attire, Or maybe to that previous year's scare zone, El Pueblo del Terror, also connected to a monster's house, La Llorona, where her and a cavalry of monsters tear apart a village of victims. So, just brainstorming ideas. Maybe it could be located in Central Park because it's the most rural of places, as seen in last year's Jungle of Doom. It's really a great chance for those from the east who didn't get the chance to see this house last year. Now, in the chance everyone wants to get a taste about this house, but without being spoiled by the POPs of Hollywood, I highly recommend the Midsummer Scream Hollywood's Horror Nights did last year. They brought the history of how this house came to be, the ideas, the makeup, the creative process, and oh so lovely artistry that people put on this house. To be honest, I'm really humbled to see me and many other Horror Nights fans have our culture adapt into this event. Myths and legends from our lands of creatures and monsters larger than life. I'm so hyped to what Orlando and Hollywood will do with the Latin America representation this year. And hopefully y'all stick around the Kimo Theater, because I'll do my best to pay tribute to the Hispanic heritage that this event and other theme park media have brought to the wall. Make no promises, fingers crossed. So yeah, those are all the original houses for Orlando's Halloween Horror Nights cover. Into in itself, while doing this research, my views on some houses really changed, which made it difficult to make a proper hype list, and I'm really fascinated to see what IPs we'll see on this year's event. The rumored ones, the obvious ones. We'll just have to wait and see. Even more the Universal Monster House, considering the Dark Universe land at the new park, Epic Universe. This year is shaped to be a killer one. Until next time, DJ not Usher out. Tonight's feature on the Kimo Theater is brought to you by the Stophead Fundraiser 2024, benefiting the Trevor Project, hosted by Alicia Stella from Theme Park Stop. All through June, you'll be able to buy limited edition prints and more by community artists and contributors, and enter a free giveaway to those who make a donation to the fundraiser page. So, look alive. help a good cause for the LGBTQ community, and let's make this the brightest Pride Month yet. All links in the description.